Are you ready to break free from the doubts and limits holding you back? Welcome to Embrace Your Value, where therapy meets coaching to help you unlock your true worth and take control of your life.
Hi, I'm Kristen, a trauma therapist dedicated to helping you heal, break old patterns, and reclaim your power.
And I'm Jen, your support coach, here to show you how to set fierce boundaries, embrace self compassion, and step boldly into the life you deserve.
So, whether you're stuck in self doubt or feeling lost, know this: your value isn't up for negotiation. It's time to own it.
Every week, we tackle real issues that challenge, inspire, and empower you to live with purpose and confidence.
So, grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, and let's get started.
Because you're not here to play small. It's time to embrace your value. Hey, welcome back to Embrace Your Value. We are so excited about today's topic because today we are talking about something that we all need more of: fun. Whether it's creativity, playfulness, or just letting go of perfection, we are diving into how to infuse joy back into your everyday life. So, Kristen, you always come from the psychology side of things. Why do adults struggle with having fun and being playful?
Well, this could be a really in-depth topic for me because of my trauma viewpoint of things. So I think that some of that gets involved, but I would say in America, in our productive society, where we are supposed to be busy, we're supposed to do, we're supposed to, we're lazy if we're just, sitting around. Other cultures, they have like, in England, it's like tea time. Like, okay, it's time for tea. We're going to take our little tea break, and that's expected. Like that's just a societal norm, right? So our societal norm in America is this pressure to feel like you're being productive, that you're doing something, that sitting on the couch and just even reading, the reading then has to be, something productive for you as well. I think this is definitely a cultural thing and a societal thing that we have going on in America. And I think what happens, and I think this happens to women the most, Jen, is we feel guilt around wasting time. And I'm just going to go wasting time because that's all about perspective, right? So wasting time is absolutely about how you see it, not what it really is. And so I'd like to talk in a little bit about like what that perception is and where it comes from. So yeah, that's my take from the therapist's point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think too, and especially as women, I'm not saying men don't have obligations, but we as women always feel like we have all these obligations. We have all these people to take care of. We have all these things we have to do. There's just always so much. And that just kind of leads into that there's not enough time for us. And so I think a boundary we can set is giving ourselves permission to have playtime. Why not? Why shouldn't we give ourselves permission to schedule everything in our calendar? We give ourselves permission to make sure everyone else is okay. Why shouldn't we give ourselves permission to take care of us and have some playtime, some downtime? I never, ever feel guilty for letting myself have some downtime or some time away from my office and this computer and letting myself go do other things. I like to go to sporting events. I like to go watch live music. All those things are considered into my fun and my playtime. And I never feel guilty about that because I play as hard as I work. Sometimes harder. Sometimes I play more. And I'm okay with that too. So, yes, I just wonder, when was the last time you were truly playful? Like, you as our listeners, and what were you doing? We would love to hear that from you. If you wanted to drop that in the show notes, we would love that. We would love to hear, when did you really play the last time and what were you doing? What are some fun things that you do for yourself? Kristen, do you have any real fun things that you do? I know one time I saw that you were at a baseball game. I saw that with
Oh,
some girls.
yeah,
That was a few
yeah,
months
yeah.
ago.
Yeah, I honestly, the most fun for me, obviously, spending time with my son. He has been trying to do things online, like trying to do like voiceovers for games and stuff like that. And so I had a lot of fun with him because he would record himself and then he would play what the actual voice from the game was and then how he tried to mimic it. And it was so fun to just listen to him. And I know that's like being playful around somebody else, but that was like a really playful time for me. And my family is pretty big on like playing board games and card games and things like that. Getting away from the old phone, getting away from the TV and just doing stuff as a family. So I would say those are the most recent things, the recent times when I have felt playful. What about you, Jen?
Yeah, actually, we also play games and cards, and we have a group of people that kind of get together. And so we've done that a couple times in the last couple of weeks. We have, oh my gosh, so many things. We're going to see some live music this weekend. We do the live music thing as often as we can. So that'll be fun. And I don't know. I mean, just I feel like I have a craft studio in my basement. So whenever I need a little spurt of something, I just go down there and get busy on some project. So that works really well too. But just I don't know, I like to have fun with people. I like to sometimes just in conversation just have, make jokes and have a good time, and that's just part of who I am. Not that I don't let things get serious, but I think because I talk so much seriousness, and I always have, when I have a true conversation with someone, it's almost always serious. It's got a deep meaning to it. So when I can bring something lighthearted into it and make them laugh, like that's one of the biggest things that I love, is to listen to other people laugh and know that I'm making them smile and making them laugh. That to me is a lot of fun. So I think that's kind of where that's at.
Yeah,
Kristen, how
yeah.
does oh, sorry.
So
Were
I
you
was
saying
just going to
something?
add, Jen,
Yeah.
that one thing that we've talked about, you and I, a lot is that we have fun doing the podcast. Like
Yes.
it's just fun
Yes.
to share what we know and help our listeners. So sorry, go ahead with your question. How
No,
did
you're good. How does playfulness impact our overall well-being and our mental health?
Yeah, what a great question. So I would say of play, it creates stress relief, right? A dopamine boost, not a dopamine hit, like we've talked about in previous episodes. There's a lot of creativity in play. And so, little kids are happy, right? Like for the most part, little kids are happy and they can have joy without all of the noise, right? That like adults have. So we have, a lifetime of whatever noise has happened, whether it's something like I was bullied at school, or maybe I have trauma at home, or, whatever it is, we have all of that noise going on in our heads. But kids typically don't have that. So they can experience a lot of joy. So how that translates as an adult is we kind of go back to that time. We go back to that place in our life where we were joyful. And so it creates a stress reliever, like it kind of relaxes. It gives us that feel good boost of, like I'm having fun, I'm enjoying life. Not I'm like plodding along, got to make the donuts. That's an old one. And then it creates some creativity, right? So imagine like you're sitting down to color with your kid or your niece or your nephew or whatever, and then you find yourself starting to get engrossed in the coloring, and that there's joy in that, right? And I know that, the coloring in the lines isn't necessarily creative, but there's different colors you can use and creating different palettes and things like that. So I think that's and having that, like those feel good times, I think that really can affect our mental health in a positive way.
Yeah. And I'm going to have a little fun with you at your expense. So if this is not something you want, well, thankfully we can edit it out. Will you explain to our listeners the difference between a dopamine hit and a dopamine boost? Because I really want to make sure they're clear on that. And that just kind of hit me that that might be something that's needed.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair question. So, a dopamine hit tends to be like, I have something I don't want to think about, I don't want to feel. And so I'm going to go do something that creates a dopamine hit for me so I can get that feel good. And then I don't have to deal with whatever it is that's going on. So let's say you have some kind of trauma in your background and you're just sitting there, kind of, maybe you're just sitting there quiet, who knows? And suddenly a thought floods back or a feeling floods back, and you go, I don't like this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to think this. So I'm going to go do something that changes this feeling. A dopamine boost is going to be an addition to how you're feeling, not a distraction from or an avoidance of. Does that help, Jen?
Yeah, that was perfectly explained. It hit me and I was like, somebody else might need to know what that is. Absolutely. And I think coming from the coaching side of the thing I talk about a lot with clients when it comes to having more fun and being more playful in life is how much they need it when they start to feel burnt out and how it can reduce burnout. I don't know how many times I have, especially women that come to me and they are just so tired. And I just ask them, when was the last time you had any fun? When was the last time you did something that just you wanted to do, that made your soul sing, that just lit your fire? And you were like, yes, this is a blast. And I don't know. I mean, I can't even tell you. All 90% of the time they say they can't even remember. They have no idea. And so that's usually their action step for that week is to go have some fun. We will brainstorm ideas and do different things because that will really help with burnout. And it also gives you a motivation boost. It creates ideas, an idea flow for you to have more motivation, more productivity, more whatever it is that you need wherever you're stuck. So if you find that you're stuck, like if you're working on a big project and you get stuck, walk away from your computer and do something fun for 5 minutes. Or go, I mean, you can always go for a walk, but do something fun, 5 minutes. And I guarantee when you come back to that, you will have some fresh ideas because that's how our brain works. We have to get it out of that cycle. My husband does this all the time with sleeping. When he wakes up in the middle of the night, if he can't go right back to sleep, he gets up and he goes out to the couch. And by the time he gets out to the couch, whatever was going on in his brain that was keeping him up, he falls right back to sleep on the couch. And it's the same thing. Just find something that will change where you're at and make you happy. Because happiness is that dopamine, and that's going to just enhance everything else you're doing. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and what I'll say on that just really quick is sometimes just a little change of venue, right? So you've got something going on in your mind, maybe you're laying in bed, you're trying to go to sleep, just getting up and changing where your location is does create that shift. So I love that story. That's a great one. So I'd really like our listeners to think back to a playful childhood memory, if you can go back that far and feel like right in your body, feel what it was like to be carefree and not worry about what society thinks or what's happening around you, is just to do something for you, like you were just talking about, something for you, something that is yours, that's important to you. So I'd really like to challenge our listeners to just think about that moment. We don't have to go out and do it, but just think about it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I love.
in saying that, Jen, like what are some good, simple ways that people can bring creativity and playfulness back into the daily routine? You alluded to this, but I'd like some more ideas from you.
Yes. Well, I have a really great client story to share around this. So I have an accountability client and we meet weekly. And when we first started talking, I think it was like, I don't know, we'd been talking a couple months, and he was just kind of getting more and more frustrated with the work aspect of things and feeling like he wasn't productive enough and couldn't get things done. And I finally said, I suggested he start using the Pomodoro technique, which is just, 25-minute increments. You do something for 25 minutes, you set a timer, and then you walk away for 5 minutes. But in his case, I suggested, because I thought this would be a better way, was to shift that a little bit. And I said, why don't you do 15 minutes of work and 15 minutes of play? Because he kind of needed that 50-50 split. And so he started, I love this so much. He was living near a beach at the time, and he started going out on the beach and collecting these big rocks and bringing them back and painting them, and then leaving them back and taking them back out and putting them back on the beach, and or selling them. I don't remember what he was doing. He had something he was doing, but some of them he took back out there and some of them he was giving away, selling, I don't know. But that became his playtime, and it started to give him that motivation, bring that productivity back in. And he started noticing that he was like, after a couple of weeks of this, he said, I work more now than I was when I was truly scheduling it. And I said, yes, because you're playing too. And so his play has changed over the past year. He's done different things. He's very artsy. He also likes to make films. And so he will make videos for fun and just all these things. But I always end up going back and encouraging him when he gets really stuck to go back into some play. And I'm like, what are you playing with these days? And he'd be like, oh, you've kind of let that go again. Because we have this idea in our mind that we're adults. We are not supposed to play anymore. I am grown up and I am supposed to go do this or that. And I actually take it to a whole nother level. And I always say, I'm a grown ass woman. I can do what I want. And therefore, I can play. And so I do it that way. But definitely scheduling in playtime is a really great way. You can also get a jar. So this is not a creativity jar, but you can get a jar and you can put ideas for creativity in here or playtime. And then when you're really discouraged or you need something, just pull one out and use it. You can also make like if you like spreadsheets, you can make a spreadsheet, but you can make a whatever you want to make and try something new every week. You can just write a list of different things you want to try and have fun with. And going back to what Kristen was talking about, I always encourage my clients to think back to things they liked when they were a kid and to start doing those things again, maybe on a different level. But if you like to be outside digging in the dirt, making mud pies, I would say you either want to go bake or you want to go garden. But which one of those two, or maybe you want to do both. Maybe that's where they both come in. So what is it that lights you up? What makes you happy? Go dig in the dirt for a while. Go get your hands dirty. There's nothing that says you can't. And if you're worried about neighbors watching you, which we don't believe in the whole comparison thing, dig in your backyard. Just go dig, have fun. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, what a great story. That's awesome. What a great idea. And I love that he painted the rocks and either sold them or put them back out there. That would be so amazing
He did with
because
some of them, I know, but I think some of them were like really good and he was either giving them as gifts or selling them, I don't remember, or they had some message on them. I don't remember. It's been a while.
yeah, I love that because how fun would it be to be walking along the beach and just find a painted rock? Like that's actually happened around town. I think I've found one or two, and I know I've heard from other people that they found some, and it's just really cool to see like what, and it's completely anonymous. Like we have no idea who did this, but it's just kind of cool that they just shared part of their creativity with the world, right? So some therapeutic exercises, and this is going to go along in your play with the dirt because I want to expand on that a little bit. Just putting your hands into doing something, but there's something very special about kind of communing with the earth, if you will, right? Touching the earth, being grounded and doing that, like being outside in and of itself is like awesome. But being in the dirt, doing those things. Like I just kind of took up gardening like the last couple of years and actually started like a big garden full of vegetables and all kinds of stuff. And I loved doing it and I loved watching it grow. So there's nature is just such an easy healer, right? It's such a way to just stay grounded and realize, that life isn't nearly as complicated as we think it is. So I wanted to piggyback on that one and just give a little bit more on that one from a therapeutic perspective. But I mentioned coloring earlier. Doodling is also a really good one. And that's actually a way that I will let some clients stay grounded. Like if they struggle to disassociate, I will give them a pad and a piece of paper and just let them kind of doodle while we're talking. There's also a whole play therapy method with kids in particular, where you just kind of talk to them while they're playing, because then they're off their defensive game, if you will. So that's why the doodling can be sometimes very therapeutic in session, and doodling without judgment, right? Like I'm not trying to make a whatever flower, whatever it is. I have zero artistic skill, so that's not something that's immediately going to come to mind. But I think just doing it without judgment. Also, if you have a musical inclination, playing an instrument for just a couple of minutes. I had a client and he was a guitar player. And I started out having him put his guitar in his home office, and because he wasn't being very productive and he was getting very down. And so I said, when you're starting to feel down, just play the guitar for just a couple of minutes. And he hadn't picked it up in years because he had something traumatizing happen to him and he had just lost that spark for creativity. And so it took him a while, but he finally got it. And then he went full force back into playing the guitar. It was just the coolest thing to sort of watch as it unfolded. And then another wonderful thing is just moving your body, dancing, turning on a little music and just dancing. I remember doing that as a teenager. I'd turn on, oh my God, Madonna, right? I'd turn on Madonna and just dance in my room. And I still love dancing today. And that is a big stress reliever for me. When I get in my place and I'm starting to feel, really tightly wound, I love to go out with my friends and just dance without judgment. And, if you're doing it at home in your room, who cares what you're doing? Like, flail your arms around or do whatever you want. But movement, and then especially movement to music, is so powerful.
Yeah.
So, those are my therapeutic thoughts on how to create more playfulness and creativity in your life.
Yes, I love that. And yeah, the dancing thing, when you said that, all I could see was not the Madonna thing, but you do the Molly Ringwald dance to the John Hughes Breakfast Club soundtrack. I could just see
Yeah.
that one because, we
Yes.
all did that one. So, yes, yes, yes. So, this week, when you have 10 extra minutes, actually, no, this is more of a challenge. Take 10 minutes this week and set a timer and do something purely for fun. No goals, no outcomes, just play. Just have some fun. Kristen, what are some good ways? And we've talked about a little bit of this, I know, but let's just reiterate this really quick. What are some good ways people can overcome the guilt or resistance to prioritizing fun?
Yeah, and I think this does go to kind of at the top of the podcast, which is we don't worry about society, right? We don't worry about what other people are thinking about us, but looking at reframing fun as self-care and not self-indulgence, right? And so we think this guilty pleasure of going out and dancing with my friends, like that was my example a minute ago. Like I could say, oh, I shouldn't do that. I should stay home. I should spend time with my kid. I should work on some work stuff. I should, whatever. I shoulding myself to death. Or I can just say, you know what? This is my self-care. This is my time with my friends. I'm going to go out and do something that makes me happy, that I think is fun. And so just reframing it a little bit and just going into like, this is self-care. This is something for me, right? And you were talking about this earlier, is do it for yourself, not for others, not anything else, because when we do for ourselves, we do end up being more present and able to do for others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always think of it as just making more space for joy. Like, where do I need more joy in my life? And what's going to bring me that joy? So, an affirmation or a mantra you can use is play is productive, joy is essential. Or you could even say something to the effect of, I'm more productive when I have more joy in my life. Joy makes me productive, play makes me productive. However, that works for you. That's the beautiful thing about affirmations and mantras and things. You get to create them for what works for you, what lives in your soul, and how it makes you feel. So if we ever say one and you're like, yeah, that doesn't really resonate with me, take it and tweak it, make it yours, because you always have that right. Like, we are not the end all be all to what they need to say. So definitely do that. But I really want you to remember that play is not childish, it's human. So, as I always tell you, go give yourself permission to have fun.
Yeah. And once you give yourself permission, it doesn't have to be this big, grand gesture or plan. Like Jen said earlier, just 10 minutes, and if you feel like you don't have 10, start with 5. Like start small, stay curious. Think about, like you said, if our ideas don't work for you, that's okay. Be curious about like what part of that did I like? So, maybe I didn't like the idea of dancing around in my bedroom, but maybe I like the idea of, dancing around while I cook dinner, and then you're feeling productive, but you're also doing something fun. Like that's a small way to start. I don't care how you get on the path to having fun and being playful, because joy doesn't have to be earned. Like it's a right as humans, right? Like you said, play isn't childish, it's human. Joy is our right as humans. And I would say one of the number one goals that people come in with, regardless of why they're in with me, whether it's trauma or substance abuse or whatever, they come in and they say, I just want to find the joy in my life again. I feel like I've lost the joy. And so just finding some joy in something is so powerful and such a healing tool.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Thank you guys for tuning in with us again today, for hanging out with us. If this episode brought a smile to your face, share it with someone who needs a reminder to play more, to bring those smiles in, because that's really what it is. And one small thing, this just dawned on me, but one small thing you can do to boost your mood, which really wasn't what we were talking about, but we were, is just smile. If that's all you can manage, just put a smile on your face and that will boost your mood too. So, thank you again for joining us.
Yeah. And don't forget, fun isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. And we've given you a lot of information on why it's so important. So, if you know someone who needs to have a little bit more fun, maybe they're a little uptight, share this with them. Let them know that fun isn't a luxury. It isn't something that we have to allow ourselves to do. I mean, yes, we want to have permission, and sometimes that needs to come externally, but it's a necessity. And if you make it part of your way of life, then you will find yourself being so much happier. Thank you for being here with us today.
If today's episode hit home, don't just keep it to yourself. Subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Because everyone deserves to know their worth.
Next week, we're diving even deeper with more insights and tools to help you break free from limitations and live authentically.
Until then, keep raising your standards, owning your worth, and embracing your value.